Why are you wearing that fucking logo? Huh? Let's go. You know that's gonna drive me crazy.
Focus on the camera.
How can I? What's up, guys? How's the audio? We got the new shotgun microphone, so hopefully it's going good. Guys, for this first topic today, I'm going to show you 3 or 4 techniques. And then I'm going to show you those same techniques slightly differently. And I want you guys to point out what is the difference between those first 3 or 4 and second 3 or 4. So, I'm going to start from Enrique, guard. Okay. Number 2. Go ahead, react. Okay. Close guard. Just react. No, he's standing. All right, get off me. All right, I'm going to do the same techniques. Hopefully in the same order, slightly differently.
But they didn't work.
Well, I know. There's a reason for that. I want you guys to tell me why they didn't work.
Tap, tap.
Hip heist.
Close door.
Oh,
We're too well.
we're doing it.
Tap.
So, guys, who can tell me what was the difference between the first set and the second set? By the way, how's the audio? I hope it's good because we spent the last 3 weeks, you know, ordering and wires and microphones and furry covers for the microphone. It looks like a squirrel attacked the microphone.
Gilbert Lopez says loud and clear.
Nice.
And lots of peers says the devil is in the details. Everybody says the audio is great.
Nice.
John Anderson says attacking on left versus right side.
It was on the same side.
Let's see.
But my left or his right?
Everybody's talking about the audio now.
So guys, the big difference is the head positioning. Okay? And I'm going to go over that. Again, those 4 techniques. But as I'm driving up here, I'm thinking like, you know, what would be a good start off topic? And this is a good one because we've been given a head. It's primarily to be used for thinking. Unfortunately, probably majority of the people don't use it for that main purpose. So if you do use your head for thinking, now you can have a second purpose. If you don't use your head for thinking, at least you'll have one good one, and that's using for jiu-jitsu. So the head usage can be used as a very good grip. It's a 5th grip. So you have, it's almost like a 5th limb. So you have, you know, your 2 legs, arms, and you have your head. So when I attack with a gatame, my head is not engaged right now. So Enrique can swim out pretty easily. So I'm going to keep the same, and now look at how I'm engaging my head. He can no longer swim out. Okay? Now, when I did the hip heist, so when Enrique squashes it kind of in the early stages, I'm looking away to heist to get some height. So even if Enrique puts me down, I have something going on. If I just kind of, if I if he pulls it out and I try to get up, it's so easy, I'm flat. If I look away, my body immediately starts to turn. Okay? Hip heist. You know, if I look straight behind, if I look at him, you might as well not even do this, because if you look at your opponent when you're hip heisting, you're going to be put down literally with no effort whatsoever. Okay? Even if you look at past him, see, look how flat I am. Okay? But if I hip heist, looking at my hand, I'm generating, I don't even look at him, I know exactly where he is. So my head looks away. Okay? Same thing with inversions. If you try to invert, just kind of moving your body, it's going to be slow and it's going to be flat. Whereas if you invert, leading with your head, that inversion is going to be much smoother and you're going to have a much better shot at attacking the legs. Or it doesn't matter whether you're inverting for leg entries or arm entries, or any entry for that matter. You have to lead with the head. There are takedowns or certain wrestling attacks where you need to look where you want him to land rather than looking at him. Okay? In the hip heist, I'm actually looking away, completely away from him. I'm looking at my hand, not at him. That's the single biggest reason why it fails and why people have their back taken from there, because you're not looking back. So let's look at the hip heist. It's a very, very important technique. So, you know, a good counter to a badly executed hip heist, and I'm going to show you two major elements to this. So this is badly executed. Look how easy it is for him to step over. So I looked, but not enough. So I look sideways. I need to be looking back. The second element is I'm going to keep this leg up. So as I'm hip heisting, I'm looking away, so he cannot. He cannot. And I keep looking away, so he cannot step over that leg to take my back. So, again, the initial topic here being use your head, guys, for two things. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and thinking. Mike, what do we have?
So the first question is from Piotr. He's asking, what would you change in your guillotine grip when wearing thick MMA gloves and straps that cover the wrist?
Probably nothing, because my grip is sort of, so the MMA gloves make it a little bit sort of, so the padding is on top on the MMA gloves. So my normal grip is like such. If I had to make room for the MMA glove, it would be like this. So the bottom grip would be the same. The top grip, this one now, it's actually not top right now, but it normally would be. It's just a little bit higher. So it works with MMA gloves. Like a lot of my guys that fight MMA, when they guillotine people, you know, like when they have a fight coming up, I make them train with the gloves on. So that way they get a better feel for the technique. It's actually important, guys. If you're training for MMA and you go to jiu-jitsu class, you know, if ask your teacher to make sure that's okay, but you know, wear the gloves, because it's tiny. Again, guys, if you have a good opponent, somebody that's tough and knows their stuff, it's going to be the tiny differences make a big difference over the course of the fight. So you got to be precise. Now, you know, accounting for the MMA gloves, you could still, some techniques you got to modify. Certain things work better, like the armpit grip actually works even better with the MMA gloves. But some things you got to just not necessarily modify, but allow for like an inch or two, you know, slight difference. Maybe it's not even an inch, it's maybe a 1 to 2 centimeters. So once that's the case, practice so you got that feel. I don't know if I told you, like that Iron Fist, the Nogi Ezekiel. Guys, I'm hitting this spot right now pretty much on the carotid all the time. But I literally played with it, maybe not every single practice, but probably 3 or 4 times a week. I would just spend a couple of minutes just making sure that I'm hitting right spot. If I didn't, I'd ask my training partner, is it on the spot? No, I make the adjustment. So you're sort of slowly zeroing in on the things. So if you have an MMA fight coming up and you wear, I would wear the MMA gloves and try to get the gloves that are most similar to the promotion that you're fighting on, because every promotion has their own MMA gloves. Some are a little thicker, some are thinner.
And he followed up with, how deep towards your elbow under neck would you go?
Like how much deeper? You stay shallow?
No, I stay shallow, guys. The whole point of my guillotine is, I told you that, I'm not going to tell you my guillotine is better than the others. It's different, and there are things about it that make sense. For example, the reason for my guillotine is shallow. I actually developed it from a loop choke from probably 15 years ago. So I go for the gi and slap on the neck into it, and the grip is the same. And then I start to think, why can't I just, so instead of me slapping it down under my shoulder, I had to make sure that my shoulder got over the head, but the grip was the same. So it actually evolved from a loop choke. So my guillotine is not necessarily better than others, but it's got advantages and disadvantages. Deep, like high elbow guillotine is stronger for sure, because you have to get deep. It's a stronger constriction mechanism. However, it's not that easy to get that deep one, especially if you're wearing MMA gloves, because MMA gloves or a gi adds additional friction, additional space, additional sort of fatness to your hand. So it's a lot harder to swim deep. So if you go in rear naked choke, like a reverse rear naked choke from the front, it's a lot harder to get that deep. Whereas with mine, it's shallow. There's other things. So a lot of times, so I told you that the way I do no-gi guillotine is very shallow. And the reason I do that, I can cement mix to my left, or if Enrique goes the other way, I can cement mix to my right, which he cannot do if you do high elbow or arm in guillotine. You can cement mix only in one direction if you do arm in guillotine. Another thing that I like is the way my body positioning works. It's not square up. It's probably the two biggest mistakes you can make in guillotining people is to be square up to them in their guard. The second one is not having the shoulder forward. But the other thing that I like is a lot of times, so if I hit it and I have the angle, a lot of times as he's popping out, I'm already taking his arm. So I'm immediately transitioning into another submission from there. So that's sort of the main advantages of it. It's shallow, meaning that it's a lot easier to get in on a lot of people, because even if they defend, as long as you can get your hand up to this hand, you have the setup. You can cement mix, you can turn them left or right depending if how they trying to beat your body positioning. And third one is it's easy to just let it pop out and start attacking the arms immediately before the guy has a chance to sort of posture up and start hitting you.
And Michael Frazee is asking, when starting a roll from the knees with a bigger, stronger opponent, what are your preferred ways to engage the fight? I sometimes struggle to gain the advantage early.
Stand up. Don't stay on your two knees. If you're on your two knees, you will almost for sure be on the receiving end. The only reason you'd be ever on two knees is if you're passing, like I'm on top. So the only reason to be on two knees is if you're passing tight. But if you're not passing tight, if you're starting here, you can't do anything right now. So if you're on your two knees, you need to do one of two things: get your grips and pull guard, or get up, start passing, start moving. That is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they in the early days of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is stand up on two knees. I mean, stay on two knees, because when you're on your knees, you're not doing anything. You cannot move. You don't have the mobility. The only thing is, like I said, is to suck their hips in and start passing butterfly guard. But other than that, you got nothing. I know it's sort of weird when we start, when people start their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu journey, a lot of times, and it's for safety reasons, is to start on your knees. And you got two guys on their knees doing this. Yeah, you can't do anything. It's just your arms swimming around. Get up, but if you're gonna get up, so don't do this. So don't go on, you know. If you get up one leg, so if I'm on my knees, I'm gonna either pull guard or get up. One or the other. Because again, if both guys are on their knees, first of all, it's unrealistic. So we do it for safety reasons. Yeah, I get it. But it is unrealistic. So, and it's not just is it unrealistic, but also it doesn't prepare you for a lot of things until that position changes, until one guy gets on top or the other. Then it becomes a lot more realistic. Okay, but on your knees, you're never going to start it with anybody on your knees. So I'm a fan, I'd rather start one guy standing. So if it's a big class or something, you need to start in a safer environment. One guy standing, the other guy's down, or actually start up standing. But also, so it's unrealistic, but also it sort of doesn't teach you a technique what you could do, because literally it just becomes two guys kind of pulling at each other. Because there's nothing else you could do. You have to either get up or go down, one or the other. So it becomes that sort of starting position that becomes suddenly 3 minutes of this, and you, generally speaking, the bigger guy just kind of dives forward and he's going to put you on your butt, but now it's going to be on his terms rather than yours. So again, if you start in two knees, I don't know if your school allows that, either get up or pull guard.
He said, thanks, Fox, that was helpful.
Okay, my pleasure. That's what we do here.
And back to the hip heist, Brett Lunar is asking, do you like the hip heist to triangle choke for the higher level of competition you face, or no?
No. That's a very, very good question. Because it's not easy. So basically what it means is that your hip heist failed. So to go from a hip heist failure into the most strong position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, maybe one of the strongest for sure, it's too big a gap. I just almost never see it happen. And I never say never in Jiu-Jitsu, but you almost never see it happen. So what he's talking about is this. So as I'm hip heisting, yeah, it looks beautiful, but it's not easy to accomplish. Again, let's do it a little bit more realistic. So you got to posture up a little bit, because otherwise I'm taking that arm. So I'm going to hip heist when the guy's postured up. So if he's postured up, if I fail, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for that arm, possibly guillotine, but now I have to switch, okay? Or, so I like this to get the guy engaged. So it's a really good technique, but like I said, to really make a good hip heist, I need to latch my hips to his. This is going to be, if I look at my hand, this is going to be a good hip heist. I may not succeed, but it's going to be a good one. The problem with this is my hips are latched to his. Now for a triangle, as I'm coming down, I need to move back away from him to create that space for the triangle. And again, that's a tall order. So a lot of times if I have somebody that sort of just plays, I'm going to hip heist and I'm going to try to get my foot on the hip. So I use the hip heist to either put him on his back or create an engagement, and then I attack. Usually I will attack the arms. Like I said, it's a great technique if you can hit it, but you don't see it very often, actually quite rarely.
And one last question before we close out. Jean-Christophe is asking, Fox, can you show a counter to the hip bumps for the hip heist that we just did?
Okay. So first, yeah, just come down. Just come down. So the reason why he would do a hip heist is if I'm sort of postured up. This is not a time to do a hip heist. It's not going to happen for you. You need the guy to be somewhat postured up. Just come down. Just come down. But that's why I'm saying that if you got a skilled opponent, what Enrique should be looking for is if it gets squashed is, right now I'm not engaged. I'm just kind of just hanging out, waiting for him to make a mistake. So if he does a big hip heist, now he's creating engagement. He just threatened my neck. I had to withdraw, and now he's got the arm. So that's how I use hip bump, hip heist, whatever you want to call it, is to create an engagement on an opponent that's kind of trying to figure out how they're going to pass my guard. So again, I don't use the hip heist. Against high-level guys, I use it not so much to set him up to immediate submission. It's rare, extremely rare. But it will create an engagement. I may attack the neck as he's posturing up. The arms, all I need is, as he's posturing up, the arms start to flare out a little bit, attack the arms. That, I believe, is a better strategy for most people. There are some people that can do it, especially if you're very flexible. So if you're a guy that, or short, then when you hip heist, you can kind of create the triangle, but otherwise, for most people, it's a pretty tall order. And guys, just like that, we're out of time. Episode 34 is done. Share, like,
Over. Second
subscribe, and
tell your friends. We're on Black Friday sale on
Guys-
YouTube. It's free to subscribe.
guys, don't forget, if you tell your friends, about a technique, sometimes I know some people, when they see something good that they can nail their friends with, they don't want to share it because they want to keep it as long. Guys, it's a temporary solution anyways. They will figure it out. Maybe take them 6 months. But the reality is, the better your friends get, the better your training partners get, the higher level you have to take your game into.
The more better you have to get.
The more better you will be. We'll see you next week.